Well, what should we drink to?
To the Groundhog.
I always drink to world peace.
Welcome to the Oh Brother podcast. I'm your host, Dan Smith. Alongside me, as always, my brother from the same mother, Mike Smith.
How's it going, Dan?
Good, man. Welcome to the Oh Brother podcast. I'm your host, Dan Smith. Alongside me, as always, my brother from the same mother, Mike Smith.
Good to see you, Dan.
Hey, man. Welcome to the Oh Brother podcast. I'm your host, Dan Smith. Alongside me, as always, my brother from the same mother, Mike Smith.
Didn't we just do that?
Hmm?
Didn't you just say that?
Yeah, I just introduced the show like we always do. So welcome to the Oh Brother podcast. It is, what is it? It's February 5th, I believe, when you get in this episode. Well, see, again, I'm all thrown off. We got the early access now with our Patreon community. So some folks get the episodes earlier than other folks, but I don't even know what date. I had a day, much like we're going to talk about today. Okay, see, it's February 4th, but it could also be February 6th. Patreon thing totally screws me up. Okay.
I thought it was the Groundhog thing.
Right. So we are now, look, this episode, we're doing a review on a classic. It's in my top 5. It's probably arguably number 2 for me behind Good Will Hunting. So this goes back to our very first episode in May of 2020. And it's Groundhog Day with Bill Murray, Andie MacDowell, and we'll talk about the others. It was released February 12th, 1993. Now we're actually recording on the eve of Groundhog Day 2022. And we've talked about doing an episode on this film a number of times. I know we've kind of tossed around different ideas. We talked about doing a focus on Harold Ramis, who directed it, and
Godfather.
We never really got there.
We did part 3, but we didn't do the.
Oh, you're talking about the Why You Should Love series?
No, we were
what's
going
the
to
Godfather
do
reference?
we were going to do a deep dive into like the Godfather, not the trilogy, but the Godfather epic.
But how does that relate to Groundhog Day? I'm lost.
Well, because we were going to do Groundhog, we were going to do.
You mean for this episode tonight?
Yeah, for this episode. No, it was Groundhog.
Yeah. We're getting off track.
Yes.
Right. For those of you that are not currently following us, make sure that you do. And the easiest way to find all things Oh Brother, there's a lot of ways you can find us, but the easiest way to find all things Oh Brother is to go out to our official website, which is OHB as in brother podcast.com. That's ohbpodcast.com. And you go out to the website and you can get access to all of our social media channels. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, which we would love for you to do. We're continuing to build our base out on YouTube. So please go out and subscribe to the YouTube channel and give us a thumbs up on those videos. It really helps get the show out to more and more people, which we're trying to do.
And turn the bell on, because
turn the notification bell on.
We're going to start doing some live episodes.
Streams. Yeah.
And that'll let you know when we're about to go, a couple hours beforehand.
We'll do some live streams that are not, at 2 p.m. during a weekday, that people might actually tune into. Now, I mentioned we have the Oh Brother Patreon community, and you can see, I have a story. So we're talking about Groundhog Day, right? Which is a day that repeats over and over and over again with Bill Murray's character, Phil Connors. And I got home and I checked the mail because I knew I had a couple of packages coming. One of them was this sweet, look at this new Oh Brother shirt. Look at this. This thing is premium.
If it's a new podcast, it's a new Oh Brother shirt.
Look at that. It's embroidered. It says Oh Brother, Real Brothers, Real Talk. You get the spotlights coming down. Very sweet. Yeah. And then, so I walk in to get my mail. It's like a community mail situation. And I walk in and there's this couple fiddling with one of the package boxes. And I'm getting my stuff out of my mail slot. And I got a key because I'm like, okay, I knew I had some packages coming. So I grabbed my key and I look at the number on the key to the corresponding box, and it's 30p. And I see
Right.
this guy's jamming his key into 30p. So I
he's
said,
like,
what do you guys, what are you trying to do there? He goes, I said, what number do you have? Is it 30p? Sure enough, he turns the key around. They have 30p,
wow.
but they couldn't get in.
Right.
So I said, oh, I have 30p. So I unlock it. Mine unlocks beautifully. And then immediately I see my
The new
brand
mug.
new, look at this. This is a Patreon exclusive mug right here.
That is a one.
This is the only one that exists.
Right. I don't even have
You
one.
don't even have it.
I don't.
This is actually a special request that I made
Yes.
of my co-host, and he hooked me up. So, but see, what they thought they were being slick. I realized once I opened the door, that was a bunch of hogwash.
They were
trying to get the old brother mug.
They were trying to get the mug.
This is a hot commodity, right?
They
No
were trying to
secret.
get the mug.
They were trying to get to the old brother mug. So what I said, go out to the Old Brother Podcast website, ohbpodcast.com, and check out the Old Brother shop. We've got all kinds of merchandise out there. Get yourself a mug right there.
Yeah.
So,
and now you can get one with the red.
That's
Remember
right.
Before you couldn't get the red.
That's
now
right.
You can.
So. People will go to any lengths, clearly, to get their hands on an Old Brother mug. It's
did you call the authorities?
Yeah, I called the postmaster, and they're investigating it as we speak.
The Joy?
So.
You called the Joy? He ain't gonna do nothing.
Oh, okay. I had to. I thought you said
General.
the Joy. Yeah, I thought you said the Joy. No, it's just a local postmaster here.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, yeah, please go out and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've got kind of an Old Brother goal that we're trying to get our subscribers up there, and we want to push out more content there. Like Mike said, we're going to do some more live streams, and we've got 3 tiers as part of the Patreon community that you can sign up for just $1 a month. You can support the show and get access to all kinds of exclusive content, including early access to the episodes. Like I mentioned at the top, our Patreon members are getting the episode earlier.
Right.
So anyways, appreciate those who are already supporting us, and we welcome all new Old Brother followers.
You know, we have a 4th level too, that you actually get the show in 3D.
Yeah, that's right. It's kind of an experimental. Yeah.
Yeah. So far, people have been getting sick.
Yeah. Is it also recorded in Dolby Atlas?
I must have been thinking of Tony Atlas, the wrestler.
Can I just say, that's funny. Don't remember Tony Atlas, man.
He used to bench press.
The dude had the biggest shoulders ever. Next to the Ultimate Warrior. He was one of my favorites.
Like in the back. Yeah.
He was one of my favorites. Let's give a shout out to our production assistant, Kelley Hammond. He's been doing a great job on the episodes. Yeah. So we're looking forward to seeing what he's going to do with our Groundhog Day.
Of course, he listens to you a little more than me.
Sure he does.
Like if a ding counter comes up, it's always, Mike.
Can I just say, if you haven't seen our previous episode yet, the trivia rematch, that Charlize Theron clip that he put in there, I laugh every time, whether it's audio or video. I just lose my mind. It's so brilliant. So Kelley, thank you. He's doing a great job. We appreciate that. And this is a really, again, I love this movie, Groundhog Day. Here's the 15th anniversary Blu-ray. This is one of the few that I have in physical media still. I will not part with this. And I'm glad I kept it, because this thing is chock full of special features.
Got a commentary.
And I listened to it. I watched all the extras. I hadn't put this in quite a while.
And let me say, for people who are like wondering, behind me,
I see it.
There's the one you just held up. And then this is the brand new 4K.
Right.
It's very disappointed in the 4K.
So
if you've got the one that you have, don't bother.
This is really nice transfer.
Yeah.
And honestly, I just also bought it, the digital.
Right.
And it's great too. So, yeah.
And I wonder, like, the only reason to get the 4K is to get the digital copy if you want both.
Right.
But if you've got the disc,
yeah.
The only thing I noticed was the sound was better, but of course, I've got it coming through my Bose sound bar. So I don't know if that had, I'll tell you, this makes me a little sad because every time I watch this, it's so good. And it's so Harold Ramis. He
Right.
should get all the credit. He took the, the guy who wrote it,
Danny
do you know his
Rubin.
name? Danny Rubin. And he took his script, which was decent, but it was dark.
Yeah. And he starts it where Murray is. Give a quick, for someone who maybe hasn't seen this.
Yeah,
I
I'll
can't
give a
imagine
quick,
that.
Yeah.
Give her a very quick synopsis.
We come in, Bill Murray's a weatherman. He's doing the weather report. And he is about to go down to Punxsutawney,
Pennsylvania,
where they celebrate Groundhog Day. And he goes down, he does the weather from Punxsutawney.
Yeah. At Gobbler's Knob.
Does the groundhog see? They really do this too. Not in the location at Gobbler's Knob, but they do it a little different spot now.
Right.
So anyways, he goes down there, he does it, goes to his bed and breakfast that's set up by the producer, and he wakes up and the day repeats itself. Yep. He meets the guy, and the guy's like, going off to see the groundhog, and it just keeps repeating and repeating, and he can't figure out how to break. He kills himself.
Right.
He tries everything, can't get out of it.
And it's
so anyway.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh,
you're still in the synopsis.
I was gonna go to the why it makes me sad.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah. Oh, wonderful.
I know. Let's bring it down a bit. Because we're just about to get funny.
Yeah.
No, I'm Harold Ramis. His fingerprints are all over that. Him and Bill Murray worked together for years.
Kelly.
What did I say?
I think we have our first mishap of the Groundhog episode.
What did I say?
I don't know what you said, but it wasn't Bill Murray. It was like Phil Surrey or something.
Him and Bill Murray.
There's nothing I can do about it.
So anyway,
You're
Harold
welcome.
Ramis,
Yeah.
and Bill Murray worked together for what you said, 6 films.
This was the 6th. Yeah.
And it's all him. He's the brain of all these movies, Ghostbusters, more without
Caddyshack.
Murray. Yeah, with Chevy Chase. And, Bill Murray's got a small part in that, I would say. And they got into several arguments. Bill Murray was going through a divorce during this film, which a lot of people don't know.
You're bringing it way down.
Well, let's get
into the
back up.
comedy.
But the point is he was a real jerk. He wanted it to be, he was ready to go into serious movies now. He was done with Ghostbusters and the funny stuff. If you remember, he did Razor's Edge before this, which was a real series, and it was terrible. And so he was obsessing over this film, wanting it to be more serious, like the original screenplay, which was way too dark. And it got to the point where he was driving Ramis crazy. So he sent Dan to sit and talk with him at night to get him off and that just busted their friendship. They didn't speak for years.
Right. And he actually, if you go back and watch, I wouldn't say Murray is averse to doing TV interviews. He's done quite a few. In fact, he was just on The View.
Recently,
he was just on The View.
Just recently did the Ghostbusters tour, was everywhere.
That's right.
That was shocking.
But I was able to go back and watch some of the interviews he did back in '93 when this came out. And it was kind of interesting to see. But on more than one of those, he says verbatim, he says Danny Rubens was touched by the hand of God when he wrote that. It was like lightning in a bottle, this whole production, quite frankly. But I think, like you said, he kind of revered what he had come up with in that script. He didn't feel that it should have played as a comedy.
Right. And Danny Rubens is disappointed even though he's so because this
That's
brought him
right.
financial joy.
Sure.
He's financially set for life off one movie,
Right.
and he's thankful for that.
Sure.
But when he watches it, he doesn't see his movie that he wrote.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, it's so much better.
Yeah, and it still has. I mean, it's an emotional. In fact, on the commentary you mentioned, Ramis, and it's a wonderful commentary, very kind of light, like Ramis's personality, and he talks about the existential kind of elements that are woven throughout the film, and
well, the film's based on the 5
stages of death and dying.
of death.
Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, right? That's what I was getting to. Yeah,
correct. Yeah,
and you really see that play out, which so it still has the dramatic beats in it, but it also is sprinkled with great humor and
romance,
and it's got everything. It's really got everything.
Yes.
And so we talked about Bill Murray, of course, and then Andie MacDowell, who, I mean, what can you say about Andie MacDowell, period, in general, but in this film, she's just magic on screen.
Yeah. Well,
and Ramis says as much, right? He talks about there were times, right? You've said this before. He wouldn't even say cut.
Yeah.
He'd forget
He's watching
to say
her.
cut. He's watching her through the right.
Yes.
And he mentions that on the commentary.
Yeah, he worked with her on Multiplicity with Michael Keaton,
right?
Who was originally offered this role.
Well, there was another individual who was offered this role.
Steve Martin.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Tom Hanks. Yes.
Tom Hanks.
And so there was several people, but Ramis thought they were all too nice.
Well,
except for Michael Keaton.
And Hanks later says, it's a good thing that you went with Murray, because if they had seen me up there, they just would have been waiting for when I was like the good guy, because that's what they expect from me.
Right.
Whereas as Ramis talks about, and anybody that's followed Bill Murray's career and even seen him in real life on interviews and things, he's kind of unpredictable. You don't really know what he's going to do. Sort of keeps you on the edge of your seat.
Right. This is a guy that will pull over if he sees a party, get out and go into the party.
Right.
There's a documentary about him.
That's right.
That shows him doing these crazy things. He'll go to somebody's wedding.
Right.
Out of nowhere.
Do you know what his I didn't take the time to go back into his background. I kind of wanted to research that a little bit more, but do you, like, in terms of his training and things like that, do you know
Second City?
It's Second City. Okay. Yeah. And speaking of Second City, like Robin Duke was in this. She plays a waitress.
Yeah.
Amazing. There were so many great
and SNL.
That's right. There's so many good supporting actors. Yeah. Brian Doyle Murray.
The late Rick Dukeman.
Rick Dukeman, who we love from Die Hard. Shut it down. Shut it down now. That's a deep cut for those that might know that. See if Kelley can
bring that clip. Bring that one up.
Oh, a little mishap and a clip.
Come on.
It's a mishap and a clip. And then also Rick Overton, who was also very big stand-up at that time.
Has one of the greatest lines when he says, well, what would you do if you were living the same day over and over again? And he says, well, that about sums it up for me.
Yeah, about sums it up for me, right? They're like drunk at the bowling alley. There's a lot of good deleted scenes.
That was in the car. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
When he's about to crash the car.
No, it's actually in the bar when he says that. I'm a little obsessed with this movie, so I know every little nuance.
You sure?
Yes, it's when they're still drinking at the bar. It's before they go out and get into the car.
Okay.
But you mentioned the location. So they shot this in Woodstock, Illinois. Now, here's the thing. You remember a couple of years ago, right? Was it 2 years ago when I couldn't even believe it, that they got Murray to do this Jeep commercial for the Super Bowl.
That's right.
And
with Brian Doyle Murray.
And Stephen, how do you say his last name? Tobolowsky.
You think I'm going to try that and get the meter going?
I got it. Tobolowsky. I saved this both.
Ding, 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 ding.
No. It's completely Tobolowsky. He'll spell it out and you'll see.
Tobolowsky.
No, there's no, because that's what it is. That's good. That's good reference. But he was in it as well as, Needlehead Ned.
Right.
And it was like shot for shot that they recreate the scene between Murray and Steven. And I guess apparently the production crew, they redid that whole, because they went back to the same spot where they filmed it.
Yeah, that whole street.
And they redid all the storefronts again. And
Mhm.
I mean,
They
it's
got
incredible.
sued. They got sued by one of the store owners.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
For losing business or something.
Yeah,
like
right.
that.
Like he lost any business.
Now you think
know?
about imagine being the script supervisor on this with the continuity challenges that
Ugh.
that a concept or premise like this would introduce into filmmaking. I mean, it's crazy.
And it would give you a headache.
You know, and I didn't think about this. I guess it seems obvious after hearing Ramis talk about it, but what they would do is, because Bill Murray's characters, you talked about the Elizabeth Kubler-Ross 5 stages of
Right.
death and dying. Any psychology, social science major would have covered that material. We both did. And he goes through that emotional arc,
Mhm.
denial, all that. And, but what they would do is they would film, I guess they reference like, okay, this is the good Phil Connors. This is the bad Phil Connors. And they would film each of the segments all at one time, of course.
Right.
Right. It's not like they went back and I don't know why I never really thought of that, before, but.
And Murray
it's genius.
Murray was being a jerk a lot of time. He would show up late.
Yeah.
He was really giving it to Ramis. And he would say, Harold, good Phil, bad Phil. Just
That's
tell me
right.
that.
Yeah.
Good Phil, bad Phil.
And he said it was his mission to just basically make Harold miserable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think he probably achieved that.
But it killed their friendship for how many years? 15 years?
At least.
It wasn't until he was dying.
Yeah.
That I think Bill Murray went and saw him.
It seems as though from what stories that I had read that they made some amends or something, or at least Bill did. It was on his part, not Harold.
No, he had nothing bad to say.
It was all Murray.
Bad to say. And just recently, when they were talking about Ghostbusters, they were on Seth Meyers.
Makes you wonder about Richard Dreyfuss. Is it Richard Dreyfuss? Maybe it's Bill Murray. That's
true. That's true.
I don't know.
Especially uncovering some of the Dreyfuss clips we've seen.
That's right.
But
and actually, when he was on The View just recently, they asked him about, because I can't think of the woman's name, the comedian that's on there, not Whoopi, but the other woman who actually, I like her.
Yeah, I know who you're talking.
You know, what I'm talking about, the
Joy
Behar. Yeah. She brings up What About Bob?
Right.
Which of course is when they did their film together, and
right.
Yeah, clearly that was not a good experience.
No,
for either one of them, it sounds like.
But
because he danced around that whole thing with Dreyfuss.
Did he? Yeah. And just recently when they were on, I think it was Seth Meyers. It was I'm pretty sure it was Seth Meyers.
Yeah.
And Dan Aykroyd was there, and so was Ernie Hudson. They were pitching the new Ghostbusters.
Right.
And Dan Aykroyd starts talking about Ramis, genius, and Murray's like, enough. He's dead. We don't owe him nothing.
Yes, on Seth Meyers, right.
Right. And then they brought up John Belushi, and he's like, he's dead too. We don't owe him nothing.
Same thing, right.
And he looked over, if you notice that, Bill Murray looked at Dan Aykroyd kind of like subtly to see if it bothered him.
Oh, I didn't.
And
pick up on it.
you would have really had to have catch it.
Yeah, I didn't
to
pick
see
up on
that.
it.
And I was like, he should,
Yeah.
Come on.
He's eccentric.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the music for a little bit with this. George Fenton.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I don't know that I knew this until I went back and listened to the commentary, but Ramis co-wrote the Weatherman theme song with Fenton. I guess Fenton did the score for Gandhi. So you hear Ramis say, so we thought he might be good for Groundhog Day. Like, it made sense, which really, when you think about it, the existentialism, the Buddhist kind of philosophy, sort of makes sense, actually.
The beginning is really, when it's probably, stock footage when they're going through the clouds,
Right.
That's very intense.
It's wild.
Yeah, it's very
wild.
intense. Unlike the feel of the rest of the movie.
Right. Right.
And I really was like, wow, when that was the first thing that stuck out to me when I was watching it this time.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
don't remember it being kind of dark. And then it goes into, dun, dun, dun,
I'm your
dun,
weatherman.
Yeah.
Which is a great tune.
Yeah.
It reminds me like Grumpy Old Men. Every time I hear that, a
That
couple of the
and
tunes from Grumpy Old Men.
I fall in love with Andie MacDowell every time I hear Ray Charles.
Now I got to tell you, that is one of my favorite all-time songs.
It's a great song.
It's the spirit of Christmas. I love it. I love it. And that is a magical scene in the film. It
really is.
And it's again, lightning in a bottle. And I think with Ramis, I don't know that you really went further into it. I know you were talking about at the beginning with Danny Rubin, who wrote the original screenplay.
Mhm.
Ramis, because they said, oh yeah, we like that. We like the way you've set it up to where it starts. We're not going to change that. And then of course, first thing
Then he
Ramis does is
changes
he
it.
changes the whole
Yes.
thing. He says,
Yes.
we really need to build up to how he got to be reliving the same day over and over again.
And if they did it Danny's way, it would have never got made. And I think that's what Harold gave to
It would have
him.
been a very different movie.
Yeah, it would have never got made.
Yeah.
He was basically telling him these things. Look, if we want to get this thing through the door and on the screens,
We got to do this.
we got to make
tweaks.
these.
Yeah.
Here's a guy that knows. He at that time, Ghostbusters was the top comedy.
He was already
of all
well
time.
established. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
And he's actually in the film. Ramis is in the film.
briefly,
Very
as a
briefly,
doctor.
yeah. It's
Neurologist.
classic, right? That can't see. I mean, we could sit
Yeah.
here for 2 hours and just quote lines from the film.
Yes.
Don't forget your booties because it's cold out there. But there's some moments that are very striking in the film. Some of the lines I like. The one we always talk about where there's a I can't think of the actor's name. I don't know if you can pull it up, but the older gentleman who is on the street corner, kind of
Yes.
panhandling for money, and Murray in the first few segments just passing him by, pretending he's looking for money to
There's
give the guy.
death. There's the only
There's
death,
the death.
in the movie.
Right. And he goes into the hospital and he wants to see the guy. And the nurse says, he's passed away. And he says, I want to see his chart. And he runs off to go into the guy's room. And she's like, sir, you can't go in there. And then there's just a moment, it's a pause. And then she says, sometimes people just die.
Not
He's like,
today.
Not today.
Not
I mean, it's
today.
so, the way he delivers that line is just so amazing. And there's plenty of others, that you could quote. And, I think the most striking thing to me, you said Ramis's fingerprints are all over this. I mean,
Mhm.
I think this is the kind of story that he believes in, that, we're all, what's the word I'm looking for? Not faulted. Help me out here. We're all, as human
Have
beings,
our faults.
Yeah, that's not exactly what I'm reaching for, but people can change,
Right.
ultimately in the end.
Well, you talk about his fingerprints at the end. Two things.
Mm-hmm.
She's staying with him to see
Andie
if,
MacDowell.
to see if he will change.
Right.
And they're playing this thing where they're throwing cards, trying to get him in a hat.
Mhm.
And she can't do it. And Murray
making a sound.
says, what does Murray say? Be the hat. Be the
Yes.
hat.
Be the hat.
That's from Caddyshack.
Yes.
Chevy Chase.
Right.
And then she's falling asleep and and he's saying this wonderful paragraph about her.
He's reading out of a book.
You're
right.
wonderful. No, this was him.
Oh, you mean when
talking
he's
to
just
her.
talking to her and she's sleeping,
Yeah,
right?
saying you're
right.
the most wonderful person.
I
You're
know where you're
sweet,
going with that.
You're
Yeah.
kind. That Ramis took that from his own life because that happened between him and his wife.
Between Murray. That was
Oh,
between
that's right. It was
that was
between
between
Murray,
Murray
and his wife.
and his wife.
That's exactly right.
Because he
Exactly
says, I
right.
don't, if I'm revealing anything too personal here, but he tells that story about Murray.
Yes.
And that's where it's a very, and that's the thing, here's Bill Murray, which is why it worked. He's just as easy to hate as he is you fall in love with the guy.
Right.
You're rooting for him at
And
the end.
and you have always said, the work. We were making the argument with Dreyfus. You said, let's focus on the work.
Mhm.
And I agree with that, except for this one time with Harold Ramis, because
Mhm.
they were together at Second City. Ramis got him on Saturday Night Live.
Mhm.
This is a guy he shouldn't have stuck it to, and I feel sad about that.
Yeah. But again, it seems as though, they left things on a more positive
Yeah.
note. And
I hope
and
so.
much like the film, right? And I love the
Right.
line towards the end when he realizes that the next day has finally come.
Right.
And he says, I forget what Andie MacDowell's character says to him, but he says, it was the end of a very long day.
Yeah.
There's just some subtle
Just
things
like
like
the
that.
line when they're dancing. So what did you do today? Same old, same old.
Right. Same old. There's a million of those. Can we talk about Chris Elliott for a minute?
Yeah. Yeah.
Chris
he's great in
Elliott
this.
is so great in this. And, it's a fairly small part,
Yeah.
but he
yeah.
has some real good. One of my favorite moments with Chris Elliott is he's hitting on one of the characters in the film at the bar,
Yeah.
at a bar, and they get up to go into like where the main party is. And he lays down $2 for a tip. And then as they're walking away, he grabs one of the singles and puts it back into his pocket. Like
You love
super
the bartender.
brilliant.
This black bartender is so funny. He has no lines.
Just the look.
He just gives a look every, they do a ton of takes.
Right.
In his looks, like,
It's funny because
stuff.
Murray is as he's reliving the day over and over again, eventually he goes through different iterations of his personality where, it's at one point, like when he accepts it, then that's when it starts to shift. And he starts to become, the good Phil, I guess is how they were saying.
Right. He's forcing it at one point, like with the snowballs.
With
I
Andie.
love these. I wish I could adopt them all.
And that's what I was going to say. Is that Ned the Head again?
Needle Nose Ned.
It's Needle Nose Ned the Head. So yeah, he the scene you're talking about when they're in the snow, he's trying to recapture a moment at one version of the day.
Correct.
Where she's sort of fallen for him. There's a part where they fall down in the snow and then he's trying to like inch himself into the same position where it was romantic before. So maybe it'll work again. It's just so brilliant.
She slaps him 10 times.
And really whacks him a few times.
Whacks him
I guess.
good.
Hits him right in the ear at one point. And
yeah.
Because he said, go ahead, you can hit me. I want you to haul off him.
For fans,
Smack me.
sci-fi fans out there, I got a quick recommendation. They've basically changed the title of this.
How did we get to this?
Well, because it's basically a
Groundhog
ripoff
Day.
of Groundhog Day.
Live, die, repeat.
Live, die, repeat. But they now call it. Is it even on here?
Groundhog Day? Is that what they call
The
it?
name of this film? No.
Yeah.
Oh, it's called Edge of Tomorrow.
Oh,
And they were supposed to make a sequel up. Probably COVID
Who was in
swallowed
that?
that one up. This is Tom Cruise.
It is Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Live,
And,
die, repeat. Yeah, I don't remember that.
Yeah. It's a good one.
Interesting. Okay.
And he steals the line. It's the same premise, only it's sci-fi. And he steals the line, same old, same old.
Interesting. We had talked about originally doing this as one of our Why You Should Love series, but then it's like, I think you were like, yeah, but everybody loves this movie.
Yeah,
Like,
I was looking today.
It's mixed, but Rotten Tomatoes, it's over. It's like 93% or something.
Yeah,
right?
IMDb. I'm really surprised at the scores.
Is it low? Yeah.
It's low. It's like 75.
Yeah.
And I look and I see Roger Ebert gives it like a 70 or something. And I'm like, what? But
Yeah.
he's got it on his list of top 10 movies you should see
Interesting.
before you die.
Yeah.
And it's on the BBC. It's number
Right.
2 comedy of all time.
I mean, take
So
it from us. If you've not seen this, first of
this
all,
is a treat.
I kind of envy that if you haven't experienced this film
Oh yeah.
ever. That would be incredible to me. But I've seen this so many times, I could recite every single line of it.
Yep.
And it has something for everybody. It hits every emotional beat you can think of. The directing is masterful. The cinematography is awesome. The music is great. It's just top to bottom. You know, the cast is incredible. And so again, that's why it's on my top 5 films.
And I think it's Harold's best movie.
Yeah, I would agree.
And I love his movies. I mean,
but none of them have heart quite like this one does.
No.
No.
And maybe the closest is probably Multiplicity.
Yeah, I haven't seen
And
that.
it's Andie MacDowell.
It's Andie MacDowell. Yeah. She's a winning formula.
Yeah.
And actually, when we interviewed Cindy Busby, and Cindy had the pleasure of working with Andie.
That's right.
Which, geez, that must have just been magical. So, well, I mean, this could be a love fest for another hour and a half, but it's just, I wanted, even selfishly, just to document, our gushing over this film, because it's
picked it
so
because
great.
it's Groundhog Day.
And it's
tomorrow.
Groundhog Day. Yep. By the time you get this episode, we will already have known if it's going to be 6 more weeks of winter, which I know you're freezing your ass off right now up in New England in like 2 feet of snow. Yes. And I thought, how
we got more snow coming in the weekend. Another foot.
Fitting. Yeah, that sucks. That's right, woodchuck chuckers. Yeah, it's Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we probably ought to get ready to head back up to Gobbler's Knob. But before we do, again, for those of you not currently following us, make sure that you do. The easiest way to find all things O Brothers, to go out to our official website, which is OHB as in brother, podcast.com. And you can subscribe to our YouTube channel out there.
Small O.
Small O. That's right.
I told recommendation.
Mike, the small O is better, right? Am I right?
No.
Am I right or am I right or am I right? Am I right? Right. It just happens, folks.
Head to head.
It's magic here. All right. Well, it's going to do it for another episode of the one and only, I feel for Mike's sake, we must say, the one and only Oh Brother podcast.
If you put us in a search engine and something other than this wonderful red shows up,
you don't see this,
or you don't see us, and you don't.
It's not bona fide, certified, fresh Oh Brother. That's just the fact. And I mean, you got Oh Mother on this episode. This is kind of like that would normally be a Patreon exclusive, folks, but you got it here for free. Yeah. And again, thanks for all of our supporters on Patreon, and we're looking forward to having more folks join us there. Support the show, but help us continue to grow the show and bring you bigger and better content. More stuff, yeah.
More guests.
George Carlin. I need a place for my stuff. All right. Well, geez, I hate to even wrap an episode about Groundhog Day. It was so good. This is a day that I'd love to repeat over and over again, just talking about this film.
Talk about this movie.
All right. It's going to do it for another episode of the Oh Brother podcast. I'm your host, Dan Smith. Alongside me, as always, my brother from the same mother, Mike Smith. And we will see you next time.
Bye, everyone.
I'm a god.
You're God.
I'm a god. I'm not the god. I don't think.